today as well. I'm I'm the Director of Innovations and Partnerships here at the Atlantic Institute. And it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for making time in a very busy week to be here with us and to also be here for a very long session today. I will run through the structure in a bit. But first of all, I just wanted to say what a privilege it is for us to be in this historic space today, but also talking about something that's really important. It's to acknowledge the importance of the frontline communities and the landscapes around the world whose knowledge, whose care, whose stewardship really inspires the work and the conversation that we'll be having today. Today is going to be structured in a way where we'll have a lot of presentations first for the first couple of hours, and then we are going to go into a workshop structure. And the workshop structure is going to be after our break, and it's going to be really important for us to then have as much input from everybody here in that last hour, because we will be producing a statement that will emerge from today's meeting and from a number of the meetings we've had throughout this week around climate justice. So please do stay with us throughout the morning and participate in the workshop that will be after break. Before I move on, I want to just acknowledge Raintree Foundation, who are our partners today and who are the sponsors of this event. You'll hear much more about them, but it's been a delight to be able to co-sponsor and organise this event with them, so thank you. So our moderator was due to be Rachel Kyte, and you're wondering why I'm standing here and where's Rachel? So unfortunately you do have me instead of Rachel. Rachel is the lead editor of the equity review that Atlantic will be launching with the Oxford University Press next year. But unfortunately, Rachel also wears a number of other very significant hats, as you may know. She is the negotiator around climate and climate change for the UK government as well. And therefore, a number of her priorities and events from last week, where she was in Washington, D.C., has meant that she has had to continue her travels this week and can't be with us. So Rachel very kindly has sent us a video that we will play now, just to hear her voice and her message, and bring in some of the perspectives of what she's doing at that political level around climate change and climate equity as well. So if we could play the video, please, that'd be great. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rachel Kyte, and I am a Professor of Practice at the Britannic School of Government at the University of Oxford, just down the road from me. But I'm also the UK Special Representative for Climate. Unfortunately, my government responsibilities have taken me out of the country, and I'm not going to be able to join you today. And I was so much looking forward to helping moderate and guide the day, but also learning from those who have gathered together about the need for developing principles for equitable landscape restoration. I'm here in California at California Climate Week, and that's San Francisco over my shoulder, to discuss the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding between the UK and California, focused on issues of technology and clean energy, but also on everything that we're learning around how to reset our relationship with nature. In fact, most of what I do as a Special Representative on Climate is, together with my colleague who's the Special Representative on Nature, is ensure that our foreign policy as the United Kingdom is really rooted in the need for justice in the way in which we manage our transitions towards a safe future from a climate perspective. And fundamental to that is the valuation of nature, and in fact restoring our relationship with nature. The United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, always talks about the fact that we must end our war on nature. And I think at this moment when we are at war in the Middle East between Israel and the United States and Iran, with the global economic and social impacts that that war is having, this is the time to think about how we reset our relationship with nature and how we begin to develop those principles for the equitable landscape restoration that we need. I think it's important, working internationally as I do, that to try to communicate this to the British public and to people everywhere. The basket of food that most British people would rely upon in any given week is entirely dependent upon the tropical rainforests and the vegetation in the tropical zones. It depends upon the health and well-being of the mega-diverse, biodiverse countries around the world. We are intimately involved in their success in conserving nature, preserving what we already have, but also in terms of their landscape restoration. And the only way for that to happen politically and economically is for it to be fair and for there to be justice in that landscape restoration. Here at home, obviously, landscape restoration also has to be done equitably, as we see from the plans now to introduce more forests back into the landscape of the United Kingdom, and to be able to take meaningful action towards the restoration of soils and woodlands and our natural environment. These come down often into headlines around planning and permitting. These come down into headlines around environmental justice. So at the end of the day, I think as we reset our relationship with nature, having these principles and developing these principles will be very important. So I couldn't be with you today. I'm very sorry for that. I'm looking forward to being involved in the work to the extent that I can in the years to come, and supporting you in your work. Thank you for your leadership, for your vision. Thank you for your steadfastness and for not letting any headwinds, political, economic or otherwise, slow you down. Heads down, let's focus on what's important and what we know to be true, where the evidence leads us and what the data reinforces in us. And I look forward to seeing the results today. Many thanks also to Catherine Bond, who's been a great partner in planning this conference and was the person who persuaded me that I should do this, and I'm just very sorry that I can't be with you. Take care and good luck. Goodbye.
Thank you so much to Rachel for making the time for providing us with that video and that scene-setting conversation. I think most of you also know Catherine, who is over here, and he is largely responsible for twisting so many people's arms. So thank you, Catherine, for that as well. So I'm going to introduce, definitely. So I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker, Justin Adams, OBE. Justin is going to open us up with a address for the rest of the day, and he will also be organising and supporting on the workshop. Justin is the Reimagining Nature Finance Fellow at the Circular Bioeconomy Alliance and an Honorary Research Fellow at the Leverhulme Centre of Nature Recovery here at Oxford University. Justin, it's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Alvinda, and thank you to the Atlantic Institute and to Raintree for organising this very timely and important event on landscapes of justice. I want to start by actually acknowledging where we are. We're in this wonderful, beautiful, ancient city of myth and culture of Oxford, a city of imagination. But also we're in Rhodes House, a name, an institution that has a history rooted in extraction and rooted in the exploitation of resources and the exploitation of land. So I think as we start our conversation today, it's just important always to acknowledge where you are and the history of where we are, and for all the good work that is being done now. We are building on our ancestors, and we have an opportunity to shape a very different future from the one that we know is still a system rooted in extraction. And that's where I would start, because so much of what you're hearing, you're going to hear so many great stories and examples from Raintree and from others of places and communities doing wonderful work in landscapes. But we are so often scrambling to fill what is called the nature finance gap. UNEP's finance initiative just came out with their latest report highlighting we need to keep scaling the $220 billion a year that is funding nature-positive activities, and we need to find ways of scaling that. But what the report also makes clear, and what we don't spend nearly enough time talking about, is that however hard we work, and there are so many wonderful people in this room working really hard to push up that number, there are $7.3 trillion per year that are funding nature-destructive activities. And it's like a great iceberg. We spend our time looking at the surface, but we are forgetting too often how much of our economic and our financial system is still rooted in extraction and exploitation. And unless we start thinking about shifting the deeper system, we will continue to be falling short of the goals that we know we must meet, and as Rachel just highlighted, and all the work she and so many others are doing. People, when I talk about changing the system, too often just say, I'm a dreamer, that it's too hard, this is the system we've got to work within this version of capitalism that we've been born into. And that's true. I've spent 25 years trying to optimize and trying to work within the system, and there are again many examples that people are working on to push the system harder. But IPBES, which is the UN science body for biodiversity, makes very clear that without transformative change, we will not address the nature crisis that we face. And if we don't address the nature crisis we face, we are undermining the very basis of life on this extraordinary planet. And IPBES came out with a report, perhaps the most important report that nobody has heard of or read, called the Transformative Change Assessment Report in December 2024. And that report makes clear that there are 3 underlying causes of the crisis that we face. And bear in mind, this report was signed off by 190 governments or thereabouts, so this has some weight as a UN-backed report. But the first crisis is our separation from the natural world. The belief that we are separate from nature, not intimately bound, not just one mammal or one species among many. The second is our short-termism, and the third is the deep inequities that pervade our economic system. And so when we talk about justice, and I've been in rooms for 20 years at least where we've talked about justice, too often we give it lip service. But the reality, as this IPBES report highlights, is unless we address the inequities, unless we address justice, we will not find our way to a different and better future. So, as we sit and listen to the talks today, and as we then engage in the workshop a little later this morning, I would ask each of you to sit with this question of what are you doing? How much are you perpetuating and working within the system? How much are you pushing the boundary of that system? And how much effort might you be putting into actually dreaming and building a different system for the future? Because however hard that is the work that is ahead of us. And it is not the work of one lifetime, it is the work of many lifetimes. So how do we do that? And let me finish with just a few thoughts of how we might do it, because it is desperately hard. But the first method I would talk to is, how do we start taking a deeper time perspective that breaks the short-termism we are so often stuck in? Because if we take a deeper time perspective and we realize that a mature oak that stands in University Park, just a few hundred meters up the road, was an acorn before the London Stock Exchange even existed, we start to get some sense that this financial system, which is entirely a human construct, may not be quite as fixed and rigid as we believe. The second that I would encourage us to think about is, I have spent so long inside the system believing change was going to come top down. If only the heads of state and the leaders of our great private sector institutions could get and change things, then the system would change. And I spent 3.5 years working at the World Economic Forum and the Davos gatherings and really believing that's what we could do. And There are many conversations, perhaps better had over a glass of wine, about that, but I do not believe that change will come from top down. Change comes from the edges. Change comes bottom up. And so again, some of the stories we hear are examples of what is changing in the edges, and yet we live within a system where we have the tyranny of scale, and we only believe solutions are important if they scale, if they are big, and yet that is entirely the mindset of this dominant extractive system we're living in. So how can we start giving more credence to the changes that are occurring at the edges, where we genuinely empower communities to be finding the solutions appropriate to where they live, where they work? So think about where and how change might actually occur if we're going to build a different system. And the third provocation is, how might we adopt a more than human perspective in thinking about this system we're in? What would nature do if nature was designing our finance system? And if we adopt an understanding of what it might be to be a bird, to be a river system, to be a forest, how might we want humans to start shifting the system? And when we stretch our imagination, because I believe we also live in a crisis of imagination, when we stretch our imagination, new things, new ideas, new possibilities start to become more possible than we dare dream today. And so I would encourage all of us to use our imagination, and I'm really looking forward to, I believe, we'll be hearing from a more than human relative a little later this morning. So please sit with that and listen for the examples. Think about the principles of what a landscape of justice might really require, because that is what we'll be coming back to in the final hour of the workshop. And do not allow the system to constrain your beliefs and your imagination of what might be possible. Because if we are serious about building landscapes of justice, we need to find the courage to redesign the system we are living in, and not just to make this existing one a little bit less harmful. Harpinder, I will hand that to you, but thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for those remarks. It was very powerful. Very, very powerful. I love the idea of dream big. I really love that idea. I think sometimes we limit ourselves in what we think is possible. And so let's hold on to that concept of dreaming big. Let's hold on to the concept of deeper time perspective. Let's not think in our lifetime. Let's think beyond us. Change coming from the edges. Let's hold on to that meaning around where are those opportunities for change to come through, and how does then those who have the power around regulatory systems, how do they then change in response to that change coming in from the edges? And then finally adopting that nature-focused perspective. And that sets us up very nicely for the next 30 minutes of our programming. So I've got the wonderful opportunity now to invite our partners who are the main sponsors of the event. I'm going to introduce very quickly Lena Denica, who is the co-founder and principal of the Raintree Family Office and the Raintree Foundation. Lena, please do come up and take us back to nature with your comments and your perspective. Thank you.
And thank you for coming early morning in a very busy school week. I think Justin has been the ambassador for our work already. Everything he said resonates and is practiced in the Raintree model. We start this journey of equity and justice at Raintree with deep listening. Listening to each other with respect, listening with a view to wanting to understand, to empathize, and then co-creating solutions from that deep listening with community at the center of it is actually Raintree's model. But when you're listening to various voices, you listen to the community, you listen to marginalized sections of the community, who represents the voice of nature. And I'd like to hand over the mic to my team today to make you understand the voice of nature in the Western Ghats where Raintree works. Over to the team.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go across India and explore the magical Western Ghats and meet our guide and mediator, the farmer of the forest, the carrier of the seeds, helping forests grow and remain intact, the great Indian hornbill, Mr. Bill.
Hello everyone, my name is Bill. They call me Mr. Bill. And yes, I am a hornbill. I live in a place humans call the Western Ghats, among the world's oldest mountains, older even than the Himalayas, stretching nearly 1600 kilometers. These are not just forests, they are India's monsoon barrier, bringing nearly 40% of the rain, feeding perennial rivers not only across Western and Deccan India, but also into southern India. They steady a monsoon on which 2 billion depend. What begins in the western hills shapes water, food and climate for all. And it is here where we live, eat, breathe and survive within one living ecosystem. An ecosystem that helps us to breathe life like the lungs of Asia. And let me show you what keeps these mountains breathing. Aha! It's us! Me and my friends, the forest family of the Western Ghats. Let me introduce you to some of them. See that blur of mischief? The Indian giant squirrel, leaping tree to tree, dropping seeds as he goes. He plants tomorrow's forest. And this is the Malabar gliding frog, born of rain and thunder, gliding from monsoon-soaked treetops. And his glide tells us something beautiful, that the streams below are still alive, and that behind the bushes is the Malabar pit viper. Shh, silent, watchful, perfectly hidden, a master of balance in this fragile world. And the jewel of the forest, the black-backed dwarf kingfisher, a flash of living color along clean streams, telling us the water is pure and the forest still breathes. No one here survives alone. What one begins, the other carries forward. This is how life is sustained. Well, now that you know something about us at the Western Ghats, it's time for me to know something about you. Are you ready? So, here I come!
It's cold out here. It's quite different from the Western Ghats. Pardon me, please. I'm not used to the weather here. Is that Pooja and Sonali? Hello! Could we please have the lights on? It's a bit dark in here. Please? Much better. I can see you all clearly now. I wasn't expecting such a crowd today. All right. I would like to greet you. This is how we do it in India. Would you like to join me? Yes? Okay. Oh, wonderful. All right. Bring your hands together. Come on. Yes, very good. No, not like a plane. Oh, yes, right. Like a bird. There you go. Namaste. Wonderful. Can I hear it again? Namaste. Wow, it's such a lovely and sporting crowd. Thank you. You're looking remarkably well turned out this morning. Impeccable, I must say. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, can you see the clock on the wall? Right behind you. Come on, just turn your head. Oh, yes. You know, it's, what time is it? I can't see it. It's 10:33 a.m. It's ticking. Well, you know what? I don't have much time. Only 5 minutes. Otherwise, the people on the console, they will shoo me away. Hopefully, not chew me. Yeah, well, in the same way, the world doesn't have much time because climate change has arrived. You need to act now. On that note, I would like to thank, no, it's not my Oscar speech actually. It's a genuine one for those who are taking actions to help me survive and sustain. Where are you, Lena? Oh, there you are. Our champion of ecology. Looking splendid as usual. What you do truly matters. And chaps like me are still around thanks to you. Thank you, Lena. Catherine. Thank you for caring about places which are so far away. It means more than you might imagine. I would like to reveal a secret to all of you. I'm not here to give you a speech on climate change, nor am I your speaker. I'm in search of people who will help save my home. As you know, Western Ghats is in danger of getting destroyed. One day my child might ask, Papa, how will Santa find me when we don't have a home? I wouldn't know what to say. And that's why I'm here. Not as a guest, but from a home that's changing. And the choices you make today will define its future. Okay, now I'm excited. Let me see if you have any questions for me. Pooja, I think, could you please hand over the mic to Catherine? She has a question for me. All right, what's the question?
Hello.
Yes, hello, I can hear you. Yes, yes.
How was your journey here today?
Nice question. Well, what can I say? It was eventful. It took me a week to get here. Pun intended. All right, who's next? Who's next? I'm so excited. Oh, Pooja, could you please hand over the mic? Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Bill, it's me, your friend. I have a question for you. How has your experience been in Oxford so far?
Oh, my experience, actually, it's been very, very surprising. How do I say this? All of you carry the answers and still spend so much time searching and researching, searching and researching, searching. That made you laugh. All right, who's next? Who's next? Come on, give me more. Oh, there you are. Please, go on. Yes.
Hi, Mr. Bill.
Hello.
Do you animals talk about humans?
Oh, yes. Actually, we do. It's about the various attires that you wear, but we have only one, and that is sustainability for you. Isn't it? All right, well, thank you so much for your lovely participation. It has been a pleasure knowing more about you. Perhaps it's easier if I show you what happens when people and land begin to listen to each other. You see, we laugh, we play, we glide, we hide. life here feels almost timeless. The forest is speaking. Are we listening? Come. It's easier if we see it together.
Today, we face a crisis. Nearly 35% of forest cover is lost, taking long-standing trees, homes, and livelihoods with it. Water sources for millions are under threat. Over 50 million people are already affected, including farmers, families, and children. And yet, even in the face of all this, hope is taking root. Climate change is not distant. It is here. This is the story of one such girl, my friend Geeta, and how hope begins again with Raintree Foundation. Come, let us listen to her story.
My name is Geeta. I live in Delhi. A small village in the heart of the Western Ghats. People think climate change is about melting ice far away. But for us, it began at home. In our dry wells, in the fading water in our soil, and in my mother's tired hands. My mother walked hours to fetch water. By the month of March, the wells would go dry. My father had to leave for Pune, a city in Maharashtra in India, not far from our village, to work as a labourer, because our land gave up on us. If my parents hadn't found a way to change, I too would have dropped out of school. Many of my friends, especially the girls, never returned to school. Because when fathers can't earn enough and mothers work all day in the fields, daughters stay behind to fetch water, to cook, to carry the weight of the home. But then, everything began to change. The Raintree Foundation came to our village. Not with speeches, but with ears to listen. They asked us what we needed and taught us that our hills, forests, and farms are not separate. They are one living system. That's when we learned about something called watershed ecology. It wasn't just about trenches and dams. It was about how water, soil, forests, and people breathe together. We built small structures to slow the rain before it ran away. Farm ponds, contour trenches, recharge wells. Now, when the rains come, they stay. The wells don't run dry so soon. And our water ATM gives over 4 million liters of clean drinking water every year. Women don't walk miles anymore. They walk with purpose, to meetings, to nurseries, to our farms. The land breathes again, and so do we. In the old days, my mother said women never spoke in village meetings. Today, she leads one. Through Raintree's social inclusion and gender initiatives, we formed self-help groups. We learn to save to manage, to lead. We started small, raising saplings, selling eggs, managing funds, but those small steps grew into something bigger, confidence. Now, women own land, manage farms, guide councils, because when a woman leads, we all rise. Earlier, smoke filled our kitchens and our loves. Families spent thousands each year on cooking gas and firewood. Today, we use biodigesters that turn waste into clean cooking fuel. It's not just energy, it is dignity. Solar panels now power our schools, water systems, and irrigation pumps. For a long time, we thought sadness was weakness, but Raintree taught us that our minds need care too. The Manasati Center taught us to talk about worry and stress, because climate change doesn't just dry rivers, it dries hope. Now, we talk, we listen, we heal. What began in 9 villages is now spreading across the Shastri river basin, almost 100 times the size of Valley. What you've just seen is what happens when things begin to work together. Land, people, life in balance. And when we act early, there's still time to shape what comes next. The Shastri River Basin is one such region. Let's take a look and listen to what the future here could be.
Velhe established one thing clearly. Climate change is a human crisis, not environmental alone. It is experienced first through people's rising vulnerability to climate change, through food and water insecurity, decreasing income levels, forced displacement, mental and physiological impact, changes in human behavior with regard to consumption and energy use, and inequality amongst others, leaving marginalized communities the most affected. Recognizing that human and ecological systems are deeply interconnected, Velhe showed that resilience comes from integrated community-led model that brings together water systems, livelihoods, clean energy, biodiversity, and inclusion. Today Velhe stands as Raintree's proof of concept, demonstrating that when communities are placed at the center, systemic and scalable climate action becomes possible with outcomes that contribute across 15 of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. A commitment to understanding, without ego, the lived experiences of community members. It means listening to local realities, recognizing and integrating indigenous knowledge for effective and equitable action, and bridging local knowledge with modern science. It calls for encouraging critical reflection, empowering and elevating community voices, and ensuring social cohesion and long-term resilience to climate change. No one solution can fit all. Customization to local conditions is key to creating highly effective, lasting, and permanent change. Communicating adaptability and flexibility is therefore essential. Our model is community-led, with a long-term, generational commitment of 15 to 20 years. At Raintree, we believe landscape restoration must be lived, not simply delivered. And this belief shapes how we approach our work. Two of these are key to how this model takes shape on the ground. First is a community-led approach. A holistic, lived landscape restoration is a long-term endeavour and works only when it is grounded in and led by the people through an inclusive, bottoms-up, democratic approach. Communities are included as change makers and delegated custodianship, with local capacity being built over time. When people are able to adopt, lead and carry solutions forward themselves, confidence and hope for the future rise. This is why our model is not designed as a short-cycle intervention, but as a long-term pathway to systemic change over one generation. Second, women are at the centre of this model. In India, over 60% of men migrate from rural areas in search of livelihood opportunities. It is the left-behind women who take on additional, often male-dominated tasks such as farming, livestock care, and looking after elders, apart from managing their homes and children, leading to increased emotional and psychological stress. They become the male of the house, placing women at the very centre of climate change. Therefore, putting women at the centre through empowerment and participation, financial literacy support, gender inclusion, amongst others, is the only effective way to build the long-term sustainability needed to address climate change. At the Raintree Foundation, we understand this through 4 interconnected returns, where ecosystems recover, livelihoods stabilise, and communities begin to thrive again. Starting with natural returns, this is about restoring the natural systems communities depend on, because when water, soil and biodiversity recover, people are better able to live, adapt and sustain their livelihoods. This improves water availability, supports soil health, reduces pressure on degraded resources, and creates a more stable foundation for agriculture and household resilience. Raintree approaches financial returns by strengthening the economic stability that enables communities to become self-reliant and sustain their livelihoods over time. These interventions reduce input costs, enhance and diversify incomes, lower climate vulnerability, and build long-term economic resilience. Social returns are about strengthening people, building leadership, confidence and inclusion, so communities can adapt together and sustain change over time. Because resilience is not only about assets or infrastructure, it is also about social cohesion, confidence, representation, and the collective ability of communities to respond and adapt together. What happens when these 3 returns begin to reinforce each other? They lead to the 4th outcome, the return of hope. At Raintree, hope is tangible. It is visible when livelihoods stabilise, when emotional well-being improves, and when communities, women, men and youth, choose to stay, invest and shape their own futures. It's also where we begin to see a shift, where rural is the new urban. Raintree Foundation has learned that scale is not only geographic, it is defined by the depth and continuity of impact across communities, livelihoods and long-term climate resilience. This leads to the next step, taking this model to scale across the Shastri River Basin. The Shastri River Basin is strategically significant because it represents a rare convergence of high ecological value, relatively intact natural systems, and emerging climate risks. That combination makes it a priority landscape for proactive intervention, not after loss becomes irreversible, but while there is still a strong foundation to protect, strengthen, and build on. What makes the Shastri unique is that it remains one of the few largely undammed river systems in the region, flowing from the Western Ghats to the Konkan coast in India. Nearly 400 villages and around 400,000 people are connected to this basin through water, agriculture, horticulture, fisheries, and everyday local livelihoods. So this is not just a river catchment, it is a living socio-ecological system where the health of the landscape directly shapes the resilience of the communities within it. And that is why acting here matters. because the basin is still relatively intact, there is an opportunity to intervene early, to prevent deeper ecological decline, reduce future climate vulnerability, and strengthen the systems that already support life and livelihoods across the region. Shastri River Basin is important from a climate and development perspective, as these pressures do not happen in isolation. Water stress, flooding, landslides, salinity intrusion, and land use change interact in ways that compound risk in people's lives. Over time, that affects livelihoods, household stability, local infrastructure, and the ability of communities to cope, adapt, and recover. That is why the response cannot be fragmented. It has to be integrated and rooted in how the basin actually functions. The interventions that can really elevate this work are those that strengthen the whole system together. In a landscape like this, resilience becomes long-lasting only when ecological health and human well-being are strengthened side by side. Raintree's approach becomes essential here. We enter the Shastri River Basin not as a new actor testing an idea, but with the field experience, local relationships, and implementation depth needed to work in a complex landscape over the long term. Raintree's approach is people-focused and community-centered from the outset, because resilience in a basin like this cannot be built through short-term activity alone. It requires trust, continuity, local custodianship, and a clear long-term plan. The Shastri River Basin is the next chapter, a real opportunity to shape a just transition through long-term community-centered climate action. It calls for new kinds of partnership, more patient and aligned finance, and a shared sense of responsibility, equal to what is at stake. This cannot be achieved by one organization or one village. It requires many hands, many hearts, to restore dignity and well-being for people and the planet, one piece of earth at a time.
For providing us with this opportunity. My brother Vivek and I were very young when we started the program in Delhi. And I think over the years and over time, as we go into this next chapter, our commitment has only deepened. The more we see of this ecosystem and the more we get to collaborate and learn from rooms such as this, I think there is so much potential for the future and so much potential to really bring such amazing people together to work on building landscapes of justice. So thank you again everyone for being here, and I'm really excited for the day of wonderful programming and a lot of learning. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that incredible perspective and bringing the Hornbill into the room as well. So I really appreciate that. The Shastri River Basin offers us a grounded example of what it means to work within a living landscape. It's about ecology, community and long-term stewardship, and demonstrates how those are deeply connected. But this was a single example of one particular place in India. So what we want to do is to talk a little bit wider and broaden this discussion out. There are many different ways across the world that are currently shaped by the impact of climate. That context, the history, the systems of power vary in all of those landscapes as well. So to broaden this perspective out, I want to welcome, I'm trying to see where he is, I want to welcome Dr. Rachel Kyte, who is the Director of Conservation at the World Land Trust. Richard, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'm not sure I've ever followed a talking hornbill before. And I'm not sure if I can top that. But thank you for the Atlantic Institute, Raintree Foundation, for the invitation today. Really glad to be here. I'd also like to thank another organisation leader, the Applied Environmental Research Foundation, who also work in Western Gas, who I will represent their talk today, as well as some other examples. So, I'm a conservation biologist and a scientist by training. I've chosen to focus my work in the last 25 plus years as a practitioner, so implementing projects, working in the field, working with communities. In the last 10 years it's been about putting land into conservation protection, and land involves communities and the topic we're talking about today. So, I work for the World Land Trust, and the World Land Trust is a UK-based conservation charity that works internationally, and it works to protect the world's most biologically significant and threatened habitats. And our mission as an organisation is to help people across the world protect and restore their land to safeguard biodiversity and the climate. And the World Land Trust was founded in 1989 on two key principles. Firstly, to save species, you must save ecosystems, and to save ecosystems, you must save land. And I can't put that in any better words than Sir David Attenborough, who is one of our patrons. The other founding principle is that to safeguard land, you need to place it into the hands of local organisations and local communities. So the World Land Trust has been working for 35 years. We don't own any land. Our partners do. So over those 35 years, we've put around 1.3 million hectares of land into conservation protection, and the standard geographic unit of these talks is Wales. That's about 2/3 the size of Wales into conservation protection. We help connect around 13 million hectares of land by strategically putting corridors and connectivity between unprotected areas. So it's not just the land within the area, it's connecting up the landscape. Lots and lots of trees planted, perhaps more importantly, 55 local partner organisations in 30 different countries is where we're working. And we follow a number of guiding principles in terms of it's about the land, we're protecting biodiversity within the land, and all the benefits that brings to wildlife, to people, ecosystem services. We prioritise doing that where it matters most. We are locally led, and we work with trusted in-country experts who know where and how to protect sites and who can meaningfully engage with local communities. So we're not a bunch of Western scientists going there telling people what to do. I've done that role in the past. We're working with local groups, local organisations who really know what's best in their place, in their site. We are looking to put that land into permanent protection, and we're evidence-led. We evaluate the outcome and impact of our work, as we all should be doing. So, looking at that 1.3 million hectares, 85% of that total, around 1.13 million hectares, was created with and for Indigenous and local communities, and I'll emphasise those words deliberately. And this land remains under local ownership and or management. And this includes all of the main actions that as an organisation we support for land acquisition and in projects in countries around the world. So of that 1.13 million hectares, this includes conservation easements. People remain the owner of the land, but there's conditions on how that land is managed and used. Community reserves, legal declarations, and legal declarations can happen at a national level, if we're creating a national protected area or a national park. They can happen at a state or regional level, or even at a smaller municipal or district level. They're all legal means of placing land into long-term protection. And then lastly, land purchases. And a lot of our work is supporting land purchases. Many of those land purchases are to establish privately protected areas, which are then managed by typically a local NGO. But some of these land purchases are also linked to communities and local communities. So I'm just going to touch on 3 examples of these sort of projects in India, in Tanzania and Argentina. So in India, I mentioned earlier, the Applied Environmental Research Foundation are also working in the Northern Western Ghats. It's an area I've visited on many occasions. It's a wonderful part of the world, as we've just seen in the presentations and films earlier. And it's a complex part of the world. As we know, as we've just seen, it's a diverse landscape. It has a landscape that's had people living and working here for generations. People are part of that landscape environment. They go together. And one of the problems in this landscape is the indiscriminate felling of trees and deforestation. And some of the key drivers of this is that there's around 1.8 million hectares in the area where AERF are working, and 1.2 million hectares of forest is under private ownership. There's no legal barrier for people cutting down their own trees for clearing their own land. Another driver is, amongst those private landowners, often a lack of skills and capacity to use biodiversity in a sustainable manner, and a lack of alternative opportunities. And the consequences, often, not always, but often, is that landowners often sell their logging rights to their land for very, very little cash and short-term benefit, and the degradation of their own land area. So there's no incentive to prioritise forest protection, and there's ongoing biodiversity loss and ongoing landscape degradation in the Western Ghats, which is a biodiversity hotspot. And AERF work in many different ways, but one of their solutions is around incentivising private forest conservation through easements, long-term conservation agreements with private landowners, and also developing sustainable value chains from standing forests. And one example of this is the beecher tree, Pterocarpus marsupium, which is a globally threatened tree, and it is utilised in India for treating type 2 diabetes. So the value of one tree, just for its timber, if it's felled, is about $50. And a private landowner with a small area of land might have 10 or 20 of these trees which get sold and locked. The value of one tree after processing and certification is around $5,500. So there's a huge opportunity there if those trees are sustainably harvested, sustainably managed, provided an incentive. So AERF work with private landowners by paying the equivalent of the logging rights, what a logger would pay for their land, to establish a 5-year or 10-year easement and agreement with conditions on how the land is used. So there's no logging, no hunting. They then establish value chains with those private landowners so that trees can be coppiced or seeds can be collected and other products can be used, which generates income back to the landowners and back to AERF so that they can invest in other areas. And these conservation agreements and supply chains are, I think in my view, a unique approach to promote private forest conservation at a landscape level. So